Hello and welcome. For this practice, I invite you to grab several props. So you're definitely going to want either a yoga bolster and 2 blocks, or if you don't have any of those, that's okay. If you have a couple of firm pillows, maybe a couch cushion, depending on how big it is, and then a couple of thick books or several books that you can stack. You just want to have some props that are gonna add some extra support and help in these stretches. So just kind of grab whatever you have lying around, whatever you can work with is totally fine. And for this particular practice, we are going to be doing yin yoga. So if you are not familiar with yin is a type of yoga where you hold. So you get into a stretch and you hold for several minutes. And for today's practice, we're going to be holding our stretches anywhere from about 2 to 4 minutes, just depending on the stretch. And the goal is to release physical tension. So we're going to build tension and you're going to feel it, but we're going to also release it. And we're going to use breath work to really settle in, to really release tension. And when you release that physical tension, when you're able to sit in that and release, you're also then able to release mental, emotional tension or stress. So the whole goal today is to release stress by releasing it in your physical body. So if you are storing it in your shoulders, in your hips, in your back, we're going to tackle all of those areas and try to release all of that. So if you are needing that in your day or in your week, I invite you to join me. So wherever you're at, go ahead again, grab those props. We're going to set those blocks or books, whatever you have, out to the side just for now. And you're going to grab your bolster or your pillow. You may or may not use this for this particular stretch. Just have it available just in case. But we are going to start right away by moving into your hips. So you're going to come into a butterfly shape. So you're going to bring the bottoms of your feet together. And you want to make sure that you're in a nice grounded seat. So wherever you're at here, make sure you're nice and grounded with your sit bones. And you're going to bring the bottoms of your feet together. Just keep in mind, the closer you have your heels towards you, the more you're going to feel this stretch. So you may even feel it just sitting straight up like you are now. So just be mindful, if you are particularly tight in your hips today, I would suggest pushing your feet a little bit out in front of you. So just kind of check in, notice how this feels. Again, make sure your sit bones are nice and grounded. And then on an inhale, go ahead and straighten through your spine. And then on an exhale, you're going to fold forward. Now, the important thing to keep in mind with yin yoga is that you don't want to force. You don't want this to be an active stretch. So you're not pulling your upper body down. You're actually just letting gravity naturally take you. So for a lot of us, when we just are sitting up like this and gravity just kind of naturally takes us, we're really tight here, so you may not fold very far. Maybe you just find that you're just kind of hanging out here and this is as far as your body naturally goes. That's okay. Maybe you're someone who's really open in your hips and maybe you find that your body just naturally falls all the way down here. So just kind of notice where you're at. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where your body lands as long as you're feeling that tension and that stretch, especially in your hips. And then option, you can have your hands around the outsides of your feet, or you can rest your hands, your arms on the ground in front of you. So for me, when I settle in here, I'm actually going to face this way. So I like to let my arms and hands be nice and heavy in front of me. And then I just settle in here. So as you continue to settle into your forward fold here, I invite you to start to notice your head, neck, and shoulders here. So as much as you can you let the crown of your head be nice and heavy towards the ground in front of you? So even if you're all the way up here, you're still taking that forward folding motion with your head. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow your neck to fully release. So when you let go of your head, when you let gravity take your head, you're releasing the back of your neck and you're lengthening your spine even more. So you're pulling this stretch all the way from the crown of your head down your spine to the very base of your spine or your tailbone. So just kind of notice how that feels. And then also notice your shoulders. Can you let them be a little bit heavier down in front of you? So again, release your head, your neck, let your shoulders be nice and heavy. And then maybe check in with your jaw here. Can you let it go? Maybe you move your jaw around just to loosen it just slightly. Option to have your eyes closed down here just so you can kind of focus inwards. And I totally forgot to cue the option of using your bolster or your pillow. This is just optional. If it doesn't feel very supportive for you to hang out, just letting your upper body hang loose, you can always bring a bolster or a pillow in front of you and kind of wrap your arms around if that feels a little bit more supportive. We've got about another minute or so left here, so plenty of time. If you're grabbing that bolster, that pillow, plenty of time to settle back into whatever variation you're taking of this posture here. And it can be the hardest thing to stay in stillness. So again, yin yoga is all about stretching, releasing physical tension so that you can then release stress, anything weighing on you emotionally. But it is also such a good practice in stillness and noticing where your mind wanders when your body comes to stillness. Does it feel really uncomfortable to stay in this shape for a long time? And if so, that's okay. There's no judgment there. There's no judgment of where your mind is wandering or how difficult this may be for you. You're just noticing. This gives ourselves lots of time and space to just notice what happens. Notice how your body feels. Notice how your mind wanders. Is it easier for you to stay present, or is it a little bit more difficult? We're going to be here for about 5 more rounds of breath or so. And on these last few rounds, on each exhale, let yourself sink just a tiny bit deeper into this stretch. Last couple rounds here. Let everything go with those exhales. And when you have made it through those 5 rounds of breath, I invite you to very slowly, you're going to round through your spine all the way up to a seat as you inhale. Your head and neck are the last to arrive. So you're very slowly coming up. And then once you're all the way up, let your head and neck come back to neutral here. Awesome. Notice how your back feels. Notice how your spine feels. And then option here, maybe you help your knees up to center. Whew, it's a long time to hold that stretch. So just be mindful of your legs here. Be mindful of your hips. And just start to straighten your legs in front of you. And just notice that release of tension as you're able to straighten your legs. Maybe kind of notice that blood flow coming back to your legs, all the way down to your feet, the tips of your toes. You can shake your legs out. You can point and flex through your feet here. Just kind of notice how that feels. Alrighty. So we're going to move into the next shape. So we started off getting into our hips. Now we're going to get into the upper body a little bit. So backs of the shoulders, your upper back. So this is where you definitely want to have either yoga blocks or a couple of really thick books. And make sure that if you're using books, make sure that they are nice and stable. So what we're gonna do, I'll show you what we're gonna do, and I'll show you a couple of variations if you're using books to help stabilize a little bit more. So you're gonna take your blocks or your books, whatever you have, and you're gonna place them wherever you'll be laying down. So that back one is gonna be on the highest setting. So if you have a block or a book, you're placing it so it's at the tallest that it can be. And then if the other block or book, you place it at that medium setting. So you can see these blocks have 3 settings: lowest, medium, and highest. So you want that back one to be on the highest height, and then the next one to be on the medium height. If you have books, again, make sure that they're really, really stable. You may have to get a little creative here if you don't have these. Or if you really don't have anything that resembles these, you could just use your pillow and lay back over that. So the goal is to lay back over the blocks or your pillow, whatever you have accessible to you, in a way to where your shoulders really go back and you're really opening up through your chest. So that's the goal. You can always bring a blanket over top of your blocks or books if you need a little extra padding. So all of that to say, you're gonna lay back over whatever you have available to you, and that block closest to you is going to go just underneath your shoulder blades. So you may have to maneuver several times. This can be, if you've never done this shape before, this is called heart bench. If you've never done a heart bench before, it can feel really weird and foreign at first. So take your time here, laying back over, and I'm gonna have to take my hair out here. So your head is gonna land on that furthest back block here. So just kind of notice when you settle into this, how it feels. And if you have particularly tight shoulders and a tight back, this may almost feel like too much. Like it may almost feel it may feel very intense, and that's okay. So just kind of notice how this feels. For some of you, this may just feel, it may just feel super nice and opening. And when you settle in, you can have your legs like mine, you can have them crossed. You can plant your feet down and bend your knees, or you can completely straighten your legs. You just want to be mindful of your lower back here. You don't want to feel too much tension in your lower back. So just kind of notice if you straighten your legs, make sure you don't feel too much tension in your hips or your lower back here. And whatever variation you're landing in, I invite you to let your legs and your arms be super heavy by your sides. Again, maybe release your jaw, release that space between your eyebrows. And can you let your shoulders be even heavier towards the ground? Notice that opening in your chest and your heart space, that lightness, that expansiveness all the way up towards the sky. And try to deepen your breath a little bit here. So it can feel different to breathe while you're in this sort of weird shape that your body doesn't really get in often, if at all. So just kind of notice, what does it feel like to bring awareness to your breath here, and to try to deepen and even out your inhales and exhales. You may feel this breath a lot more intensely, maybe in your back, in your ribs, in your chest. And we're going to be here for about 2 more minutes. So this is a shape that you really want to give yourself lots of time to open up, to settle in. And this is obviously great for stress relief, but it's also good for energy. If you are struggling with lower energy levels, maybe some lethargy, maybe some sadness, depression, anything along those lines where your energy is a lot lower, This is really helpful. So anytime we face up and open up that front part of your body, you're also expanding and opening up your energy levels a little bit more. So it just gives you a tiny bit of a boost to try to even back out there. So you're just doing a counter to how you feel. So if that's where you're landing today, I invite you to really focus in on your chest, on your sternum, on your ribs, and maybe even when you inhale, notice that opening in that whole front part of your body. And then as you exhale, maybe send that exhale back to your heart space or all the way up towards the sky. So you're noticing that openness, that lift in the front part of your body, especially your upper body. And then you're also noticing that groundedness in your lower body. So your sit bones, your hips, maybe your legs, whatever part of your legs or feet are grounded to the floor. Same thing with your arms. Your arms are nice and heavy, nice and grounded by your sides. Let yourself notice that stillness, notice the silence. Maybe you're tuning into the sounds around you. For me, I hear the birds chirping outside. And I invite you to tune back into yourself and your breath for about 5 more rounds of breath, wherever you're at here. Whenever you're through those rounds, very slowly and gently, especially if you are on blocks or books, take your time here. We're all going to meet in a seat. So for me, I like to plant my feet and bend my knees. And then for me personally, I like to roll onto an elbow. So kind of rolling onto one side. And then I like to sit up. So again, take your time here. And when you arrive, notice how your spine feels. So take a lot of time and space here to settle back into a seat. So maybe you find that your spine feels really overextended. You just did a huge arch in your spine. So option to take a few seated cat-cows. So you're just rounding through your spine here. And then opening up through your chest. Other option that might feel good is to take some seated twists side to side. So you can always twist from one side and then the other. Wherever you're at here, try to move with your breath. So if you're taking seated cat-cows, you want to inhale to open up through your chest and then exhale to round through your spine. If you're taking side twist, inhale in the center, exhale to twist to one side, and then you can inhale back to center, exhale to take it to the other side. Maybe just give yourself a couple more rounds of breath here. Maybe you just need to stay in a neutral spine and just tune into how your spine feels, how your chest feels here. Just kind of notice. Alrighty. So we are going to land back down on our backs and take one more stretch here. So you have several options. You're going to definitely want a prop. We are going to land ourselves in a supported bridge. So I'll show you the two different options that you have, just kind of depending on what you're needing today, and then what you have available to you as well. So once you land on your back, you're gonna wanna plant your feet about hips width distance apart. And a bridge is when you push your hips all the way up to the sky. A supported bridge is when you grab either a block or a bolster or a book or a really nice firm pillow or a couple of stacks of pillows. And you're gonna place whatever prop you have available to you underneath your hips, just underneath your sacrum there. So notice what that feels like to settle onto whatever that is. So what could be really helpful is if you are settling into this, like for instance, I'm using a block today. I like to use a block for this because it gives me options to elevate and do different heights. So you can see when I settle in here with my block, this is the lowest setting, and I can kind of check in and notice how I feel. So today I'm kind of like, I definitely feel that, but I think I need a little bit more of a stretch. So I'm gonna take it to that next height. And that for me is kind of the sweet spot of, okay, I feel this stretch. I can feel it in my back, I can feel it in my pelvis, but it's not too overwhelming and I can hang out here for several minutes. So again, if you're just using whatever you have available to you in your house, maybe you experiment for a minute and just notice what's working for you today. Maybe you need this to feel a little bit more supportive and a little bit lower, and that's okay. Or maybe you're looking for a really big stretch and you want to elevate your hips a lot. So the more elevated your hips are, the more you're going to feel this stretch in your lower back, in your pelvis. So just like we did with the shapes before this one, we're gonna hold for several minutes. So I want you to really tune into how this feels in your body. Where do you feel the tension? And then how can you release that tension? So it's really helpful to release tension with your exhales. So you tune back into your breath. And on each exhale, you picture that tension just getting a little bit less. And you want your legs and your arms to feel nice and supported here. So for some people, if they're looking to be really intense, you can straighten your legs in front of you. Some people will do this. This is way too intense on my lower back. So I'm going to keep my knees bent. But you can do whatever your body is asking of you today. Day to day is going to be different. How I felt yesterday in this shape is very different than how I feel today. And how I feel today is going to be very different than how you feel. And that's totally okay. Same with your arms for me. I'm trying to manage my mic here and just keep it so that you can still hear me. So I have my hands just up here on my sternum, but for you, it may feel more supportive to let your arms be nice and heavy by your sides. And just notice again, how do you feel? Where do you feel tension? And then, is it easy to stay present? Is it really tough to stay present? Maybe your mind has wandered off and you didn't even realize it. And if that's the case, just bring it back to the present. Notice your body. And also notice, like for me, I'm tuning into, this is feeling like a lot. I did some back stretches yesterday and I'm feeling a little bit sore. So I'm actually gonna come down to that next level here. That's a lot. So again, you want to feel into that tension and you want to stay present with it, but you also don't want it to be so overwhelming that you can't focus and stay present with yourself. So if you find that that tension is causing you to dissociate and disconnect a little bit, maybe back off or maybe tune back into your breath. For these last few rounds of breath, I invite you to notice what parts of your body feel grounded. So the back of your head, backs of your shoulders, your arms, maybe bottoms of your feet or your heels. Notice the part of your body that feels nice and light, nice and elevated towards the sky. And then take about 5 more rounds of breath or so. Again, your breathing is deep and even on your inhales and exhales. Couple more rounds. And then whenever you finish those 5 rounds of breath, slowly, whatever it is that you have under your hips, slowly lift your hips just enough to remove that, and then lower your hips all the way back down. Whew, I felt that stretch a lot today. So just tune into if you felt that a lot, or if it just felt nice and restorative or nice and supportive. And then start to bring your knees in towards your chest here. So you're giving your lower back a lot of opportunity to really ground down and sort of recenter, realign. So you can bring your knees in towards your chest, option to wrap your hands around the outside of your legs, rock side to side. This should feel pretty good on your spine here. I know it feels really nice and just relieving for my lower back. And then just briefly let your legs fall to the left here, or fall to whichever side. And we're going to move into a supine twist. Again, just briefly. 2 or 3 more rounds of breath. Then on your next inhale, bring it back to center. Exhale, opposite side. Drop your legs here. Whew. And this should also feel really nice on your spine. You're twisting it out, evening things back out. And then on your next inhale, come back to center. Exhale, recenter your hips, ground your feet. And then we are going to roll to one side here, just briefly. And then I invite you to meet me back in a seat whenever you arrive. Whenever you arrive in a seat, I invite you to start right away to notice your sit bones here. So option to close your eyes down here, or just have a soft gaze down the bridge of your nose, and just start to notice as you settle in your sit bones being nice and grounded. And then also start to notice the palms of your hands. And I invite you to ground the palms of your hands on the tops of your legs here. And for these last few moments that we have of practice together, we are going to do just a quick body scan. Notice how you feel physically in your body. And then we're going to finish with a few rounds of breath together. So just kind of start to notice your hips. So we're going to start at your hips here. Just kind of notice how they feel. Notice any tension that you built, and then kind of notice how they feel now. Maybe they feel a little bit looser, or maybe you just notice them a little bit more. And then start to bring your awareness to your lower back here. Notice that part of your body. We really stretched and opened that. So just kind of notice how it feels. Maybe you even bring your hands to your lower back to start to feel. And then start to work your way all the way up into your shoulders, your shoulder blades, your upper back. Notice how that space feels here. We also opened and extended that part of your body today. And then last but not least, one last check-in with your jaw, with that space between your eyebrows. Can you loosen, soften everything in your face? And then we're gonna end practice together with 5 rounds of breath. And for these rounds of breath, I invite you to, on each inhale something that you need more of. And then on each exhale, release something that you need less of or that you no longer need at all. So this can be as simple as inhaling more presence, maybe inhaling positivity, whatever it is. It really doesn't matter, just whatever comes to your mind. And then exhaling, maybe it's just simply exhaling stress. So whatever comes to mind, just ask yourself, what do I need more of? And then what do I need less of? What do I need to release, let go of? Alrighty, so go ahead and option to ground your palms back down on the tops of your legs, or you can bring your hands to heart center, whatever is resonating most with you right now. Alrighty, we're gonna take 5 rounds of breath. So go ahead and inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth, let it go. Inhale what you need more of. Release what you no longer need. 3 more, inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one, biggest breath in. Release it, let it all go. Awesome, awesome job. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you were able to get whatever it was that you needed out of this practice. You were able to release physical tension, stress, anything that was weighing on you. And as always, I hope that you found some healing and that you continue to find healing, growth, whatever it is that you need. And I will see you next time. If this video was helpful for you, I invite you to join me for live trauma-informed yoga classes, both online and locally at the Iris Embodiment Center. And as always, thank you so much for being here.